Superintendent, Board, thank you for having us here today. I handed out to you all a copy of our 24-25 school year in review, so for those of you who have been in meetings with us during the course of the year, the format's fairly similar. So first year results, if we gave ourselves a report card, I'm going to give us a generous A minus. I think that we, talking about the teamwork aspect, talking about what we were able to accomplish in the first year, I think when we sat down just over a year ago and we thought, where is this heading? What's this going to look like? Everything that we hoped to accomplish, we did just that. So it was some good teamwork. Very proud of the men and women that I have working with me over in the school safety department, the people at the sheriff's office who helped pull this off to work with us to be able to provide security to you. So looking at the stats from last year, on the quick facts on the top left, we had 7,877 calls for service. The next line you see where it says 504, so those are the ones that we were sent to. That could be something as simple as a school principal or an admin person saying, hey, could you come over here, we have a problem. It could be a 911 call, it could be a dispatch call from our headquarters. The self-initiated, anytime one of our deputies interacted on behalf of the school or otherwise as an officer with one of the children or an administrative staff person in the school, they would log in the computer, so when you say, well, what are they doing all day, this is what they're doing. And there are a lot of different calls. For the most part, they're disturbances, stuff that's kids fighting or possible theft of property, lost property, things of that nature. On the threat assessments, at the end of the year, we had 183 threat assessments. 8 of those were closed by arrest. A lot of those had other things where they were just informational or where we referred to the school for discipline related to school activities, but at least 8 arrests did occur from our threat assessments. Of the ones that we worked, quite a few were worked on the patrol side. I'll talk about that in a little bit, where the call comes in, and as you know, the kids go home, they have bite to eat, they get ready to go to bed, and they drop a line onto Fortify Florida, and they tell us what was happening in school, so we activate, and that is patrol on the midnight side, beginning and doing most of the work on the threat assessment. If it needs follow-up in the morning by the SRO, the information is provided to us on school safety for the follow-up. If not, they handle it right then and there, especially in the case of an arrest that needs to be made on the spot. They will handle that at the patrol side and report to us. And we do a QA, quality assurance on that, make sure it meets all the needs. And our number is not the same as your number on threat assessments because you have your own. Now, we are a part of the threat assessment team in the schools, but that number, that's your number, this is just ours. So that's just what CCSO handled. The next section is the NIBRS, which NIBRS replaced the UCR in terms of reporting crimes. And not every crime that happens gets reported to NIBRS. So when you see, well, there's only 317 things that were reported to NIBRS, those are the stats that NIBRS tracks. So that's why the numbers are different from the total number that you might see, because other things have happened, but they're not cases that NIBRS tracks. Those are the ones that they report for national crime statistics. So you will not see everything included in that number. But we had 317 total incidents, 222 persons crimes, with battery being the leading one, 43 property crimes with theft being the leading one, and then we have what we call society crimes, which is either possession of drugs or weapons. And then there's a small explanation about that. So again, NIBRS National Incident-Based Reporting System, that's the acronym. On the training side, right below that, we had over 9,000 hours of training. They're actually in training right now, but we'll include that as part of our next year report. They being my SROs, trained consistently, first of all, on the part of the transition time, and then also throughout the year. And we've trained on everything, and people say, why are we spending so much time on active assailant? Well, number one, that's why we're here. Marjory Stoneman Douglas was based on an active assailant incident. It wasn't based on a crisis intervention, but however, because we believe in the holistic approach, we tell our SROs to build relationship with the kids. We tell them to learn how to befriend them, become a mentor, someone that they trust. Then when they do that, the kids turn to the SROs, hopefully, and tell them what's going to happen in advance of what goes on in the school. So it's like a warrior guardian mindset. We are a guardian most of the time, but should the moment come we need to be a warrior, that's when we step into play. So to be an effective warrior, we have to train. That means we work on multiple aspects of active assailant training. The single response, meaning just one SRO in a school, or a team response. We work on our incident command system. We work on our hazardous response plans, our CHIRPs, where we talk about how it is that we respond to these types of calls. And the more we practice, the more effective we'll be should that moment come and when that moment comes. So that is why we train so much in that, in case you're ever asked. On the right-hand side, case dispositions. So with an asterisk, you see we cleared 592 of 621 cases. Again, that's your difference between the 317 and the NIBRs, but we total worked 621 cases. Bless you. The difference is, clearance basically means for statistical purposes, we had a resolution. It's considered solid for reporting purposes. So that could be a variety of ways, everything from an arrest to an exceptional clearance where prosecution was declined by the state, or it was handled by the schools in lieu of a criminal case. That's why those numbers will be somewhat different from case to case. 28 cases of ours were cleared by arrest, 106 were handled through school discipline. We did 97 juvenile delinquency citations. That's quite a bit, and we had 10 Baker Acts. So on the arrests, you see some of the charges that we've had: possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana, vandalism, disrupting or interfering with school function, petty theft, driving while license suspended, revoked, and possession of firearm on school grounds. Right below that box, you see contraband seized. We had 3 bladed weapons and 1 firearm that we seized this year, and 8 grams of cocaine, just over 8 grams of cocaine, and 59 grams of marijuana. So keeping in mind that we are out there, and any report of any kind of narcotics that comes through the chain to us, anything that we're aware of, it gets handled. Ultimately, it's a decision the state of prosecution is made, but we do what we have to do on scene. And if there's ever a time that you hear that the deputy is not doing anything with any narcotics, please call me directly and we'll handle that right away. But I don't worry about that with my team. What we do is we handle the stuff that's brought to our attention, we find what we can find, we develop information that we can develop, and then we go through with it like we're supposed to. A few highlights on the bottom. So I talked about the CHIRP, the County Hazardous Incident Response Plan, and we go over every one of those every year, and we talk with school safety and Director Boyack and his team, and what we do is we are constantly critiquing them. For example, why would we go looking at these plans every year? Middleburg High School, right across the street, there's a big subdivision. Part of a CHIRP plan, or a CHIRP, is what streets do we have to block off and where do we have to put deputies? And would that affect where we might have a staging area because now there's a subdivision there? So or what new construction was built at Lake Asbury Junior High School or any of the other schools? Without us constantly reviewing it, we could have outdated information. The CHIRPs are kept on our department computer where everybody can see them. They're kept on our real-time crime center. I have hard copies and SROs have hard copies of their schools in their office. I keep all of them in my car so that if something should happen, like we had in Oakleaf in the beginning of the year, which turned out to be swatting, everybody knew where to go. They're an excellent tool, so we are working at those. And you can see here too, we have suspect neutralization, medical response, the school floor plan, familiarization. We like to have patrol officers come in and get an understanding. Each school has a little bit of a different dynamic where you have Oakleaf, 3 levels in one part, how many acres you have over there, plus you also have outbuildings, you have a lot of area to cover. They have to have some level of familiarization with the schools so that when they respond, it's not completely foreign because they have enough on their plate when they get there. Traffic management and family reunification, where the district safety and security group are handling the reunification, but they're working in tandem with us. So our assignment in school safety would be to work with your crew at a reunification part. But again, if we don't practice this, and Director Boyack and I talk about it consistently, if we don't talk about this, we don't practice it when it happens, and it's still going to be chaotic, but we can limit the chaos by practicing and being prepared. We developed an ICS, or Incident Command System operational plan, and we implemented an IMT, Incident Management Team, for graduation. So for the first time that I can remember, what we did was we put all the stakeholders in the same room. We had safety and security, we had our team from school safety, we had fire rescue on board, we had everybody you needed at the EOC ready to go, everybody working off of the same network of channels. We had dispatchers ready to go. We had a plan in place because 6 high schools, as you all know, graduate the same night, which is logistically it's very tough. So for the first time, we implemented this plan, and I think it went off really well. We had no reported incidents. We had something across the street from Orange Park High, not related to the graduation, but we had the people in place that we needed. We had resources in place. It was effective, and it was purposeful and intentional, and that's how we operate. So that was, and I appreciate Director Boyack's partnership with that. And if you look at the notes here, we put several hundred hours, and we put person hours just to be kind, but we had several hundred hours of planning for the implementation of this because we couldn't just run it that night. Everybody had to meet multiple times. How does this look? How does that look? What are we going to do if this happens here? What channel are we going to use? Everybody from common to any patrol officer involved. There was a lot of people hours that went into it. And then as recently as June, we did a walkthrough with public safety and the safety and security team at the 37 schools that we handle, just to make sure that the schools are safe. And I think we've come up with some nice little suggestions that were implemented, and that's why we take a team approach, because fire rescue will look at something and say, well, what about this? And I won't think about it like that. I may look at something and say, what about that? And you and fire safety would look. So having the team approach, we had a bunch of set of eyes on it, and I think the kids will be benefiting that with our efforts on that. Any questions on that part so far? All right, so that's our stats. I just wanted to kind of give you some bullet points. So we've had a lot going on this year, as you know. Every SRO completed their initial training requirement, 14 weeks of FTEP, which is the Field Training and Evaluation Program. We finished that over the summer. We have a few that are still doing it as we speak. That's over 700 contact hours of work for us. Every SRO completed their mandatory 40 hours of yearly ongoing training. Topics included firearms, proficiency in firearms, high liability topics, CPR, bloodborne pathogen training, defensive tactics, OC, baton, and physical abilities testing, and every one of them passed. Every SRO received over 16 hours of crisis intervention training, and there's that other piece of the puzzle for us, and more than 40 hours of active shooter incident management or mass casualty training. We had multiple SROs and supervisors attend the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency's 2024 National Summit on K-12 school safety and security on September 25th for 16 hours of training. We also attended a separate training on anonymous threats of violence at K-12 schools. 5 SROs and myself attended the FASRO, Florida Association of School Resource Officer Conference, and we were able to get some good information and also some acknowledgement that the state of Florida is leading the nation in how we handle safety and security in schools. And it's also nice to know that right here in Clay County, we are still the tip of the spear in how we address things, that we're the way we work together in partnership and the procedures that we have in place. Multiple of our deputies attended the Office Attorney General Symposium on vaping among children. We had over 10 SROs attend the Breach Point training, which is mental health and resilience, because a strong member makes for a better officer in our schools. Our members, they learn skills that they can help the kids with should they run into that. Our members attend additional individual training courses to include some SRO certifications, line supervision, active assailant, ICS, incident command system, and single officer response, which we talked about. Some joint initiatives with your district. In September, we collaborated on joint messaging to the students, and I appreciate the help of Terry and her team, as well as the Safety and Security Department, on how we message to students and parents on the use of Fortify Florida, and then the video that you did along with the sheriff, trying to tell everybody this is what it's all about, this is how we use it. And I think that was a big concern going in, was how are we going to have one clear, consistent message, and how are we going to put it out timely, and everyone's going to do this simultaneously. And I think, for the most part, some speed bumps in the beginning, very small ones, but we really streamlined the process, and I think we have it going really well. Because actually, that's my next point. In October, we facilitated the One Voice, One Message idea. So that's what I just talked about. In November, we worked with the principals and the Department of School Safety to modify our off-duty scheduling for events, like after-school events, football games, things like that. We had a different policy, you had different needs. We sat down at a table and we were able to come together with agreeable amounts of security for events and how the process would look for payment and how we would provide security. And then we had no events in any football games this year. And I don't think we had any other event that we covered. In November, we did First Lady DeSantis. This is the Facts Your Future drug education program with 900 students at Ridgeview High School. We worked through on that one. In December, with Project Reach, discuss ways that SROs can intervene and help students who are homeless. And that was something that you all brought to the table, and our team was involved in that, and they enjoyed that. In January, we did the FBI Be Smart online safety educational program, and that was the one at Ridgeview High School. Also, we had over 100 attendants. Hopefully, we can get some more coming, because everybody who attended thought they got some really significant information, and I think it's information that every parent should know. So any parent that's watching, if you have a chance, you hear of it again, please endeavor to be there. And then myself and Director Boyack, we attended the first ever Florida Symposium on School Violence and got some good information and some updates on where we're heading as a state. And then we also worked with the district safety on the Safer Watch and audio enhancement program. Throughout the years, we were implementing that and making sure that we had good connection between our real-time crime and then what you guys were doing here. We did the back-to-school bash event both in June of last year and June of this year, July of this year and last year. Both events the last 2 years were outstanding, and a lot of kids and families were met in needs. So looking at some of the things that we handled through the district. In September, we worked with the district. We had a problem where kids were being arrested in other jurisdictions in their schools, and the information was not being brought over here. So you did not know that a student transferred over here from like Jacksonville was arrested and had a history. We were able to work with Department of Juvenile Justice and get you guys a quarterly report of all the supervised youth. So this gave you an idea of who was under some supervision and why, so that if there was a gap in the communication process, you knew you had. I think one school had a kid wanted for attempted murder, if I remember correctly. Fortify Florida training, participate in student talks and training regarding the use of Fortify Florida. All 37 SROs assigned to schools participated. We partnered with Northeast Florida Fusion for analytical assessment and monitoring of at-risk youth regarding threat assessments, arrests, weapons violations, and things of that nature. So what that does is it brings us into the loop, and it puts us in with the Southeast United States law enforcement agencies that utilize a system called LINKS, which is a law enforcement information exchange. So now we have all the information about the kids. Any kid that might be on the radar, especially if they come in here, we know about them and we share that information with you so you know who your students are. When we had a problem with the school zones because of the timing of the lights and things, which I hear now will not be a problem moving forward, we jumped at it and we utilized every resource possible to make sure deputies and marked cars were with lights on in every school zone because the lights were not operational on those 2 occasions due to a scheduling conflict, and we made sure like that. Then that took SROs, traffic, PSAs, patrol, we had PIO people out there. Our PIO is also working with your PIOs to get the information out that, hey, there is a school zone even though the lights are not working. We also were able to fix a records concern where juvenile arrests were not being sent to school safety on a timely basis per statute. We were able to work with them and get them where you guys were getting your information about juvenile records on a daily basis, that you get a spreadsheet that comes out to you. And we were requested for a career day in February at the fairgrounds. We had all of our SOs tied up, so we sent the lieutenant and we sent a chief over there to be there for the career day that you all had at the fairgrounds, and it was a very successful event. And then June and July, summer school and summer lunch programs. We covered 20 schools every day for just over 60 days, representing over 1,600 person hours of work. We've done book readings throughout the year to students at literacy events. We assisted in multiple cases involving whether it's your staff or anything going on within the district, and work with the SAO to get a good conclusion there. And as we wrap up, some recurring boards or initiatives or collaborations that we participated in. Every month, Play Action Coalition, Tobacco Free Florida. Quarterly, we did First Coast Crime Stoppers. Monthly, Juvenile Justice, 4th Circuit Advisory Board. Monthly, 4th Circuit DJJ Educational Student Achievement Subcommittee, or basically truancy, it's a lot of words to say a truancy group. Monthly, or as needed, individual school-based, the behavioral threat assessment and management groups. And then monthly, the district ones as well. And we have our Intel unit from CCSO attends those meetings as well to make sure that if there's anything that comes along, they know what we're looking for and they know how to go out and find that information through Intel. As you look at some of the things that happened during the year, in September we had Hurricane Helene. Shelters were operational the 25th through the 27th. 7 shelters were open 3 days. For 3 days, required 784 person hours of SRO coverage, and those coverage costs were covered from the Sheriff's Office, mostly through overtime because of the hours that we had to operate, and CCSO picked that up, and hopefully we'll get reimbursed for that through FEMA. In October 24, Hurricane Milton, we had no shelters, but we were assigned with storm prep, response, damage assessment, and school checks. Many works of hours have gone, on policies, procedures by agency members outside our department. So just to make this happen means that a lot of other people have to help, whether it's finance, taking care of all the payroll and concerns of that nature, HR, bringing on all the personnel. We are talking about even the policies regarding training and bringing people on board. This was a complete team effort from the Sheriff's Office. A lot of groups worked a lot of work with making the sausage, you know, a lot of different people that you would not know if you're not being told. We spent a lot of time on gathering information, crime analysis, and doing research to make sure that you had the most up-to-date information so you can make the best decisions possible when we bring problems to you as a district. And then also the many hours worked by our agency members outside of our department that are helping, when I say department, out of school safety. This, again, team effort. I appreciate everybody's work with us during the course of the year. A lot was accomplished, and I'm proud of, you know, there's 54 of us, including my staff assistant, a couple of dispatchers. But I can't tell you enough about how dedicated the men and women are, including Deputy Harris right here. So,
I have one question.
Yeah, please.
When you're talking about your 9,000 hours of training,
Yes.
when you coordinate your active shooter training or whatever, I guess I want to know, is the Guardian program integrated into that training?
Great question. So historically, they had not. So actually, Director Boyack and I had conversations about how now that you're kind of at a spot where you like to be with your Guardians, that we're going to try and integrate the Guardians into our regular training. So what happens is, we have a problem logistically with that because you're talking about, I have to split my team into sections to be able to train them effectively. Otherwise, with 50 people in a room, there's one person doing something and 49 people staring at them. So what we have to do is, like right now, our North team is training at Fleming Island High School, but yesterday South did. We're trying to figure a way that we can integrate the Guardians because you have, I think, 47 of them. So how can I get 47 of them in with our group? So what we're talking about is, we've actually been troubleshooting, working with training to maybe open up the range on separate days where Supervisor Mills will go out with Director Boyack and his team, and then we'll be there too. And if we're out there, maybe we can train simultaneously. So we're trying to find ways, trying to find avenues to do that. Now, in tabletop exercises and things of that nature, Guardians are always welcome to be at that kind of thing. And when we have one coming up in the near future, they will be there. I think Director Boyack's working on something of that nature. So we will be working together in that regard.
And what about drills? Like active shooter drills at schools? That's my only question really, is the coordination of all the Guardians. So like if the Cook County Sheriff's actually has a plan, and you do, it's a very good plan, and something were to happen, how do we, I guess, assimilate, how do the Guardians know what to do with you in your plan? Like, is that?
So every SRO of the school should be working with they usually have a set Guardian or two that work in that area as much as possible. Ideally, what should be happening is, and it's my understanding, the SROs and the Guardians are meeting and they understand what the protocols are. Now, I know that the school safety department is working on making sure they do the things that they have to do, being the Guardians, like put their sash on and things of that nature, so that we have no blue violence where they might think that a Guardian's a bad guy. So that should be being done daily at the level with the SRO. Am I getting a head shake, yes?
Correct.
Yes. So the idea is, so they plan, this is our chirp, this is what happens here, you'll do this, I'll do that, don't forget to do this. So that is being done on a daily basis, but I will tell you, I'm with you, I think maybe what we need to do is ensure it's being done, and maybe have myself go down there, or we talk about leadership going down there and making sure that everybody is.
Because to your point, it's the same as in the military. You do the same thing, you practice over and over and over again. So it becomes natural for you under duress. If everybody's talking about it and working together under duress, then everybody will have a role to play and everybody will be successful in that role. So that's the part I was concerned about.
And rightfully so. We believe that, the body never goes where the mind's never been.
Yeah.
The body doesn't go where the mind's never been. The idea being that we have to train, and like you said, it has to become a reflex.
Okay.
Because under stress, you resort to what you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, are there any questions about anything, Paul?
Two quick questions. It boggles my mind all these years we've had computers and we haven't shared info. So I'm happy to hear that we're getting better at sharing between counties within Florida. But is there ever a chance that we're going to get information from another state when a student moves in? And secondly, of course, we've all commented about our issues with vaping. How can you help us with what's going on in our schools so we can get better at controlling the
So
vaping?
every time let's start with the vaping question, because the first one, in terms of stuff coming from the state, we get what we get, and I don't know, when we don't get something, I don't know it exists, so I don't know what I don't know in that regard. But the state does share information, it goes to our Intel, and then Intel is working with us constantly. We meet with them at our regular meetings, Claystar meetings, and we meet with them daily on a huddle. So they're, and plus he's in the building, so he walks right over and talks to us, so that's not like we don't get the information, but in terms of, I don't know which state organization you're referring to, like this, like FDLE or something like that, or
I think she means other states.
other
Yeah,
states?
other
Oh,
states.
excuse me, I thought you meant the state.
No.
So, I don't know. Basically, any information that goes through our Intel groups is passed on to us, like the Northeast Florida Fusion Center, things of that nature. Did you have something, Director Blair?
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in. So we worked very well together this year in regards to working with the DJJ and getting a list every month that comes in that lets us know who students are on supervision, and then we both cross-check that list to make sure that, you know, any student who's on supervision, we know why they're on supervision, and we know, are they in the correct educational setting, and those sorts of things. So we are able to look and do those sorts of things. Where the little bit of a blind spot is students coming from out of state who haven't been arrested for those kind of things, those threat assessments. As Director Galemi said, the state of Florida really leads the world when it comes to how we handle threat assessments and how we share information in state. And certain states outside of Florida will be on board and do similar things, but there are certain areas that they just will not pass us information onto that, and that's where Director Galemi says, you know, we don't know what we don't know at that point.
Boggles my mind.
And you know what, I think we're doing better than ever on relaying information.
Yeah.
Interstate, intrastate, we are getting information, it's just, there might not be something that's relevant, but I think the stuff that we've done with DJJ and the stuff with the students that we have in hand, I think we know more than we did before. And this, I refreshed my memory in the second half of your question, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was on vaping.
So the vaping, so we've handled quite a lot of our delinquency citations were about vaping. So we've seen a rise in THC infused vapes. That seems to be really like the modern trend, which I'm very surprised about. So in short of going into people's lockers or into their cars or into younger kids going into their book bags, there's not much more we can do. You can see by our drug numbers that we have seized quite a bit of narcotics in your schools. And on the vapes, I can't remember the number, and I can actually pull a separate number on vapes, and I can email you guys on the board what the number was. But just in conversations with my team, my management team, I see a lot about vaping that we're doing every time it's brought to our attention. But as you know, they're pretty good at hiding and passing it on. And by the time, you know, this student has it, they give it to that student. And by the time we talk to that student, they've already given it to that student or thrown it in the garbage or hid it behind the bush. So it's a difficult task. I think the best thing we do is keep educating them. Hopefully, maybe the trend switches back. But as of right now, we're doing everything we can to get the vapes, you know, out of their hands, and then we turn everything into evidence. We charge them appropriately, and we work with the assistant state attorney who handles the juveniles, and he takes it very seriously. Hector.
Thank you.
Anything on this?
Before we go to budget, I just want to, for the district's standpoint, and then this is my question to you guys and to us, I guess. As far as vaping and education, I know Tobacco Free Clay had talked about additional education and some things that we can do with our students. So I don't know if we as a board want to look at that and see what they have to offer. I know I spoke to Mr. Broski about this. And then is there, do you guys, I know, and maybe they don't take it as serious as like the cell phone thing and the trafficking and all that, but is there some kind of education that can be provided on the, like a night that we do what we did last year as far as like teaming up with doing our education on our cell phones and the trafficking and stuff? Is there something that you guys can do as far as the vaping aspect? Because I feel like there are so many parents that have no idea how big of an issue this is, and then their 8th grader comes home with a vape, and the 8th grader doesn't even know that there's THC in it, and now he's vaping and smoking it. And I mean, this happens literally all the time. I get so many, or I have so many conversations about that, that they're getting them from their friends, not even knowing that that stuff's in there. And then the parents are like, my kid would never do that, you know, thinking because they don't have access to it. But I guess it's the fact that it's lack of education all the way around, parents and students, I feel like.
Well, I think Clay Action Coalition could help us in that regard too, because they are working on a lot of programs, and I can reach out to Stephanie Gohagan and see what they might have, education, and if we can find something, I think the director's going to speak to. If when we have the opportunity to meet with the parents, we are up for any kind of education that we can give, provide, and help grow the community. So I'll look at my end and see what we can find resource-wise, and then we can partner with Director Boyack. Did you?
Yeah, so the cell phone safety event was a pretty big success that we did as a joint group when it comes to this sort of stuff, and kind of we had planned to reiterate that type of an event again with honestly just our two organizations so that we could live stream it because we did know that there was a lot of desire for that information, but there wasn't necessarily the ability to get there. So we were going to go down that route, and then kind of the plan for this year is to have another one of those events, but also have one in regards to kind of a drug-related focus as well, as far as, like you said, did you know that, this sort of stuff, and then have kind of Director Galemi and his team incorporate other aspects of the sheriff's office that kind of sees what's out there on a daily basis, and we kind of coordinate something that's, what we're seeing in our schools so that parents can be aware of what to look for, what questions to ask, where to find drug tests that they can use if they suspect use, those sorts of things. So just, we're kind of in the early stages of that type of event, but you can't expect to see that event in 25, 26.
Okay, good, because they're lacing, journalists keep getting smarter and smarter, and these parents have no idea that half of these vapes don't even look like vapes anymore.
Right.
They're very hidden, and they're becoming more creative.
And I have no problem putting together an intel board where we can find some data on the new stuff, and we can send that out, you can distribute to parents through your resources. We will look into it and see what we can do. I think there's, maybe what we could do in our part of that is, on top of everything else, when we do have that meeting, is bring in the state attorney and talk about the legal ramifications. Especially, there's also the health concerns, like you're right. They think they have a regular, quote-unquote, regular vape, but it's THC infused. We don't know what's gonna happen when they do it. So there's a lot of room to work with. We'll be available for you, whatever you wanna do.
And honestly, Mr. Brodsky, I know I talked to you throughout the year about having these, these serious discussions with students when it comes to them understanding the student code of conduct when it comes to weapons. I honestly believe, as a district, if we just set a very high expectation for kids, right, about the seriousness of something, I've heard from dozens and dozens of students, parents, and teachers. A lot of this is happening in unmonitored, bathrooms during class changes, sometimes unmonitored time prior to school. I can tell you, I know of at least 10 kids who don't ever use a bathroom because they're afraid of the vaping that's occurring inside. So along with the Clay County Sheriff's Office, I just really think I'm always going to go to the expectation, right? The seriousness of the expectation, and when someone is found with it, the education is a piece of it, but I think it's also being very, very serious about it. There are districts that have an admin in every bathroom, not on schedule, right? But in every bathroom between every single change. Maybe it's not that particular bathroom every day, but the kids know there's going to be an admin in there. So just, maybe that's something we can coordinate with sheriffs, but I am telling you that kids rise to the occasion when you're very serious, and they know you're serious about it, the expectation. And so I think it's a twofold. I think we need to become very serious about a problem that we know is no good for our student population, and we need the help of the sheriff. So getting that information out maybe to parents, but that's just my 2 cents after talking to a lot of people about the vaping. I have a good friend who is very, very good at classroom management, found a kid vaping in class. She couldn't even smell it. It is a serious problem, and I think it's going to have to be a twofold solution. So.
And like I said, Tobacco Free Clay said they have additional education but I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it's something that we can put together and send it out on our app and stuff. I don't know what it would look like, but I do know that they have offered services, and I had spoke to Monique personally. So maybe something we can look into, whether we do it once a year, beginning of the year kind of thing. But I think it's that people are not being fully educated on the repercussions of this. And then, like I said, in other counties, they're lacing this stuff. They're having to Narcan kids and send them to the hospital and stuff. And I don't want Clay County to get there, because then at what point is it an emergency, right? Like, at what point are we taking this serious? And I'm not saying nobody's not taking it serious, I'm just saying that I just don't think people fully know. When you go talk to the principals, they'll straight up tell you it's a massive problem here in Clay. So, and when you have kids coming up to you saying that they either lock the door to go to the bathroom or they just hold it till they get home. I mean, and then they say, Miss Aaron, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, how can you help me fix this? Because these are good, genuine kids, right? They don't want to get in trouble. So, anyways, that's just my concern and my, because we have to also be there for the kids that are doing right, you know, that we don't even know the health repercussions of sitting next to somebody who's vaping yet, right? We don't have all those studies yet. So anyways, that was just my 2 cents, and I think that education with our parents is going to be important too. So. But thank you for all you guys have done. It's a lot, and our students, our parents, and community see this. So thank you.
Any other questions? I turn over to the CFO, Vicki. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good morning. So to support all the activities you heard about, obviously there was funding supporting that. I've handed out a brief kind of recap summary of the last fiscal year. This is similar format to what you've seen on a quarterly basis. Basically, for last fiscal year, which ended June 30th.
Sorry.
That was my cell phone, I
I'm
think.
sorry, Vicki, that's why I can't understand.
Yeah, fiscal year ended on June 30th, so from our perspective in the budget finance world, we're already into the new year, but I wanted to recap for you how we progressed last year. Of the funding that we received of the budget that was approved, we keep track of all the actual expenses. You'll recall that we have a separate fund, a separate bank account, everything to make sure we keep this all totally separate in the financial world. And we're pleased to report that we are reverting or turning back to you all $769,554.76. I provided this recap to Dawn and Bryce last Friday. We've already submitted our portion to the comptroller's office. As you're aware, your funding on a monthly basis goes through the comptroller to the CCSO, and so the reversion goes back that way. Friday, we cut our portion of the check, and then Dawn and David Cottle, who works in the comptroller's office, will coordinate with Dawn to get this, hopefully sometime this week, into your bank account. Just as a quick reminder, we are on the county's benefits. So you'll see at the bottom there that recap, the CCSO reversion, but you'll also see BCC benefit reversion. That's because we're on their benefit plan, and so they retain those dollars to pay our providers, and so that difference is part of their check. So they will combine that for the total of $769,000, and that will go back to the school district sometime this week. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, we're always available if you do, and appreciate having the opportunity to discuss this with you.
Thank you.
If I could, just for a second, let me just thank the Sheriff's Office for their work in the school. The partnership's been great along the time. We really appreciate all the hard work that you guys do along with our team. I know Director Boyack has spoke glowingly about the daily communication. And anytime you have 40,000 students going to school, I did a little math because people know I'm famous for math, right? Which is 40,000 students, 180 days. When you do the math there, that's 7.2 million times that students are going to school. It's unreasonable to think that things aren't going to happen with 7.2 million opportunities for it to happen, but it's nice to know there's a great partnership to deal with it when it does happen, which is that. So thank you so much. We really